Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 10 of the anime series One Punch Man. And this was a hell of a setup episode for events that I can only assume are going to actually be stretched through the last couple of episodes of this particular season. And I do hope we will be getting a season 2, announcement to correspond with that finale when we're finally there in a couple of weeks' time, because this show has just been balls to the wall. It has been brilliant, hilarious, action-packed, depth of characterization. I mean, it's a perfect gateway into anime, I would think, especially for people who are comic book fans of superheroes and that kind of thing, whether that be comic books or comic book movies, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's all very much in the same vein, but I love the over-the-top action and comedy to boot. It's well complemented and formatted to this series. I mean, the comedy in this episode was actually sidelined by the Tornado character herself. For all of her diminutive stature, she has a big mouth and a big attitude and a hell of a lot of power to be able to sort of, be sitting there on the phone when the Ancient King, this giant Godzilla-looking mother trucker, comes out of hiding now that the Deep Sea King has been destroyed and, former of these other baddies that Saitama has taken down single-handedly. And now here is this big Godzilla mother trucker wanting to rule the world. And he's like, you done yet? We're going to go? We're going to spar here? And he tries to crush her. And, she summons with her, telepathic ability a freaking meteor out of the sky to crush this within seconds of his saying, that's the only way you can destroy me. Turns him to ash. I love how his little eyeball looks up and he's like, Like his last thought was, what the fuck? And then boom. We have the Hero Association calling in all of their S-Class guys. Only 2 actually don't show up to the actual meeting, and Saitama has been brought along with Genos and Silver Fang. Cool seeing Silver Fang again, and that he's trying to impress Saitama and Genos, trying to teach them his ways and everything like that. And he's got this one upstart student who's like, don't you dare dis master, but being the only remaining guy because he had somebody go rogue, this guy Garo or whatever it is. And, so Saitama, there's this point in the meeting too where the camera shifts to an above the table, viewpoint. And you see Saitama look up. And I almost thought this was purposely put in there because he's looking up at the camera. What's going on? Maybe it's the security cam footage or whatever like that. And then they show a panning table shot down at table level. And he's still looking up. And I'm like, what? What's he reacting to? He's reacting to something, isn't he? There's more going on here that we're not aware of. And the whole reason for this meeting, as they basically describe, to have all of these S-Class heroes, all of which were shades of badass. I mean, when you have Atomic Samurai, it was like, damn, this guy looks badass as all hell. And he's carrying himself to be kind of badass. Reminded me of Auron from Final Fantasy X to a point. But, all of these heroes look hilarious. They look badass, or shades of the two, somewhere in between and betwixt and everything like that. And it's all because they have this guy Sitch who comes in and says, look, this psychic lady, she predicted something that is going to threaten the entire world. We're not just talking about these city-shaking and rocking events. We're talking about the whole planet is at stake. And just as if in answer to this, do we find alien invasion time? And you got this, weird creature who's got all these different heads, and he can split up into different forms. Kind of reminded me of Clayface from the Batman Rogues Gallery to a point, although this guy's much more malevolent, I think, in his just wanting to lay waste to any living being. Seeing, again, referencing Atomic Samurai and Silver Fang and these other guys, Metal Bat or whatever the guy was called, and the Silver Knight, or all those kinds of things. They're all teaming up to try to defeat this thing, and the swords aren't really doing much. It's just making him spawn off into other versions of himself, and then he kind of culminates into one huge version, and we don't actually see what happens from that point, because then you have a bunch of heroes up on the rooftop, Genos and Tornado among them, this guy King, who is said to be the strongest man in the world, until Saitama with scratches down his face, and they're trying to ask his opinion on how they're going to go about the attack of these aliens. And he has no idea. Like, they have no idea. It's like an RPG thing where if you don't have a guy with a spear or, you know, somebody who can fire projectiles, we're screwed. We can't even hit the damn thing, you know? And you got the one guy who's like, and telling Tornado, oh, don't piss King off because he's going to kill you. And then when, like, Genos starts bad-mouthing and back-talking to Tornado, and Tornado's like, aren't you even listening to me? I'm going at this alone and all this stuff. And then he goes over to Genos, oh, don't piss her off. She's going to kill you, you know, the whole time. And, of course, we leave off with this epic cliffhanger of Saitama having already entered the vessel. He's already just laying waste to every living creature inside this thing. He's also doing internal structural damage to this vessel. And, like, he's making his way up to the big bad, if you will. You know, he runs into this one guy, Grubrias, or whatever the hell he's called. I don't remember. Takes him out in one punch, obviously, and completely removed his head, too. And he's building up, as we find out if you watch, you know, the PV for the next episode, what little there is of it, we're told Lord Boros is this alien leader, this sort of cycloptic alien leader. And that's where we leave off, you know, with the promise of one hell of a battle to come. With how they've built this guy up, I'm almost wondering if Saitama has finally found a creature, a being that will match his prowess enough where it won't be just a one punch and it's over kind of fight. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it was a hell of a build-up to this guy. And we got 2 episodes to finish out the series to see how this is going to play out. I have no idea. Like, is Saitama just going to take him out in one punch? Is whatever happens going to finally speak to the greater purpose of his attaining some level of acclaim? Will he get to be S-class out of taking this ship and its alien overlord down? I don't know. You know, and by the way, Puri Puri Prisoner was involved in some of this stuff, fighting this, you know, duplicate-like creature, this mud flap-looking creature, for lack of a better term. And I thought that was absolutely awesome, too. This guy kicks a lot of ass. They play it for comedy, like, oh, he likes the other guys and everything like that. But, I mean, he actually is kind of badass. There was a depth to his character as well. And I love that. I love that there is this sense of almost familiarity with the heroes of this world. They are seemingly outlandish in some cases. They're pompous in some cases. They're badass in some cases. And there's enough sort of descriptive quality in their names and the overall aesthetic of their styles that you almost feel like you're familiar with the environment. Even as you're being introduced to these new heroes, it's like, okay, you can acclimate immediately and feel like you kind of know where they're coming from. You see where they're coming from. It takes very little for them to put forth, you know, the personality and the character traits of these other heroes, which I really greatly appreciate as somebody, you know, just seeing them come in and some of them being taken out. You had one guy, Tank Top Master, I guess, and he's like, Saitama? Where do I know that name from? And it's like, oh, well, if he figures it out, if he pieces it together, all hell's going to break loose, probably. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you immediately know. And just gangbusters, once again. This episode being very much a setup episode for what is to come. And I still enjoyed every friggin' minute of it. Tornado especially. Like, you know, I've heard a lot of people, like, basically fanning over this particular character and not being familiar with the manga and everything like that. Of course, I don't really know her, but I immediately liked her in her first appearance, episodes back. You know, she kind of freaked me out. I was like, damn, this chick is a wild card. But now in this episode, it's like, she's still the wild card. She still has massive power, but she's likable and hilarious as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how the dynamics correspond as Saitama becomes more well familiar, especially as she's like, you know, get the hell out of here. You know, you're some B-class hero. You just want to get close to us, the S-class. You're a dog. Get out, you know. And then he completely ignores her. He's completely oblivious. Loved it. Love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 10 of One Punch Man, if you've seen it, if you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I have heard whispers of certain aspects of the manga maybe deviating or rather the anime, and the manga, deviating from the original source material, the sort of web comic this was based on. And I'm actually wondering, without posting spoilers, just how closely this is following the events of the manga. I know they've, scrimped on certain aspects and edited around things, reconfigured things here and there. But is this, building up to some sort of penultimate clash? And how true is it sticking to the source material manga? So if you're familiar with it, let me know in the comments below. Again, no spoilers, please, but always love hearing from you guys. Whether you love it or hate it, our POVs can disagree. Just love having that conversation about a great series like this. And yeah, otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.